This is a video I'm making to highlight 10 things that Mojave Paint does better than Affinity Photo. These are all mostly very trivial, but I just wanted to highlight the small wins as I'm an upstart Mac developer. And I certainly don't want to suggest that the feature set of Mojave Paint is anywhere near Affinity Photo. It has a small sliver of the features, but the features that are implemented are highly polished and in some ways work better, in my opinion. Some of these might be even a little subjective, but yeah, let's get started here. So I have Affinity Photo 2 here with this is my '64 Chevy pickup truck out in the desert, and then I have Mojave Paint version 0.9 loaded up here with the same document. So I'm going to flip back and forth between these two and just talk about 10 things that are slightly better about Mojave Paint. Okay, let's get started. Number one, and this, when I first launched Affinity Photo 1 years ago, I immediately ran into this and found it annoying. Say you want to crop a square out of the side of the image. You would think, okay, select the rectangular marquee, start off the document so that you're actually getting all the way up to the edge, start dragging, and then normally you'd hold shift to make it square, but in Affinity for some reason it's command. So you do this and it makes it square, but from off the document, which is not useful at all. So then you let go and you actually have a rectangle. So I couldn't even figure out a way to easily have a square up against the edge. You might think, okay, maybe you can just select from the interior, make it square with command, and then you can translate it. You can drag it around up against the edge, but it doesn't, it'll go off the edge. So then it's, once again, it's a rectangle. So you can just, and then say you had a square up against the edge, there is no crop command in Affinity as far as I know. So I couldn't find one anyway. If you go in here and search for crop, and then so what you can do is you can activate the crop tool, which will pre-populate itself from the selection, and that's almost as good. And from there you can crop. Let's compare this with Mojave Paint. You go in here, you select the rectangular marquee, you start dragging from off the document edge, and then you drag in, and then you hold shift to make it square, and it only goes on the document, as you would expect. So from here, you go like this, and now it's a square up against the edge. There's no reason for the rectangular marquee to ever go off the document. Certainly, elliptical marquee can go off the document. There's a reason for that. You might want just kind of a little wedge coming in like this, certainly. But a rectangle marquee, there's just no reason for it to go off the document. So in Mojave Paint, it's a little easier to select a rectangle up against, or a square up against the edge, and then crop. So then you go like that, and then you just go to image, crop, and you've cropped a square from the edge. Let's talk about selection arithmetic. In Affinity Photo 2, if you can select a region, and then you can use the modifiers to add or subtract to it. And so if you hold shift, it adds. However, it doesn't have a separate line, and so it kind of merges them together as you're dragging, which I find difficult to comprehend. So if you go this like this, and then you add, and then you subtract, you hold the command or the option key to subtract. Now it kind of deletes out of there, but you can't see the rectangle anymore that you're dragging, and to me that's a little disorienting. And compare this to in Mojave Paint over here. If you select here and then you add, you get both shapes. So then you can kind of see what's going on, and then you release, and it applies the arithmetic. So then you've added. Then if you do option to subtract, you drag, and then you see what's happening, and then you let go, and it applies. This makes more sense just because when you're dragging, so a selection is actually just a grayscale bitmap, and when you're dragging, that's actually mathematical geometry. If I have the ellipse here, and then I'm adding, that is a perfect ellipse mathematically defined. So it would make sense to have that be a line, not a marching ants while you're dragging. And then when you let go, then it all applies and it becomes a bitmap, a grayscale bitmap that's represented with the marching ants. So that's number 2. Let's move on to number 3, which is similar, in a similar vein here. If we're back in Affinity Photo 2, and let's clear the selection, and you make a selection here. Intersection is a common operation, and it's used if you say you want to clean up, say you select something with the magic wand, and then you want to kind of clean up the edges within a square that you define. You might intersect it, and generally you do Shift and Option to get the intersection, and that just isn't present here. And I don't know if it's a different keyboard shortcut that I'm unaware of, but it seems like they just haven't implemented intersect, except for up here in the UI where you can click the intersect. But generally people use keyboard shortcuts for these operations, and so there's just a miss there that's unexplained. Whereas in Mojave Paint, you go in here, you make an ellipse, and then you want to intersect it with another ellipse. You just hold Shift and Option, then you get the little cross, little multiply cursor, and then you've intersected. It just seems like an odd miss to me. So that's number 3. Let me stop here, and then we'll go into number 4. Is the swatches here in the tool area. If you click, they don't open the color picker. You have to double click. The color picker is over here, and I don't know why that is. It's annoying to me. Whereas in Mojave Paint, you click and it just opens with a single click. And I should also mention that swatches are supposed to be square. If you went to the furniture store and they gave you a swatch of a couch fabric to take home, and they gave you a circle, you'd be, what the hell is this? Swatches are supposed to be square. So that's one, admittedly, extremely, almost anal, trivial difference between the two, where I think Mojave Paint is better. Number 5. Memory usage. Mojave Paint uses, looks like I got an activity monitor up here, and these apps are both recently launched and have the same document in them. Affinity looks like it uses about twice as much RAM, and that might change with time as Mojave Paint gains features. I can only imagine Affinity is probably eagerly creating textures so you can create new layers quicker, or perhaps it's making font previews, or who knows how it's using all the memory. But for now, we are more frugal on memory than Affinity Photo. For ways that Mojave Paint is better than Affinity Photo is the icons are more iconic. So the point of an icon is to be maximally identifiable. And to me, the icons on the left side here for the tools just look like a jumble of kind of similar looking graphics. It almost looks to me like your inventory in a role-playing game, where these could be a bunch of spells or potions or something. It's hard for me to at a glance pick a tool with this, whereas over in Mojave Paint, these tools are as obvious as could be. They're high contrast. They're designed to be maximally identifiable. To me, the goal of an icon is that you can tell, like if your office mates can tell from across the room what tool you have selected, like that's a good icon. Like if you're looking at this and you want the type tool, like you're not going to have any trouble finding the type tool. Whereas over here, it's just in Affinity Photo, it's just a little harder to pick the icons, I think. And some of the icons, and they overflow. They hide half the icons part of the time. So like here, which is annoying. And then take the zoom icon, for example. The magnifying glass is maybe the most iconic icon of all icons. It's a hoop with a stick. Anybody can recognize that. And even that one they've sort of messed up here. It's like filled with color, and it doesn't have the pop, the kind of silhouette pop that an icon should have, in my opinion. So that's number 6. I think that Mojave Paint has better icons. And okay, let's move right along here to number 7. Okay, so let's make a text layer in Affinity. And so if we go here and we just do, I guess it's artistic text is the regular text tool. I'm not quite sure. So you go in here and then you make let's do something that has descenders and doesn't have descenders. So we'll make 2 layers here. So we'll have alpha that has a descender, and then we'll make a second text layer here, and we'll just call it beta. And then if let's activate the move tool and select each of these layers, and you'll see the bounding box is fit tight to the actual curves of the text, which in my opinion is wrong. If you so type is actually an abstraction on top. It's not just, yeah, it's composed of Bezier curves, of course, but it's an abstraction on top of curves, which is involving runs of text. And to me, the bounding box shouldn't change in height based on whether there's descenders or not. So it's just basically tight fitting, kind of like the pixels or kind of like the vectors. And then let's compare this over to Mojave Paint, and let's make a couple of different text layers. We'll use alpha and beta again, and let me make this a little bigger. Bigger still. Okay, alpha and beta. And if you're in here, we got these 2 layers. We go to the move tool and turn on transform controls. You will see that the bounding box is actually it fits over the actual text, and it lines up with, if you were to select the text here, the little blue background is that same height. And so there's lines of text that are abstract and separate from the actual curves themselves. Of course, when we eventually add convert to curves, when we have more vector tools in here, then it will become just curves. But for now, these text layers are literally text in an abstract fashion, which to me is more correct than what Affinity Photo does. 8 is the thumbnails are matted in a square in Affinity Photo, which admittedly is easier. If you're going to have a bunch of images of variable aspect ratio, it's easier just to put them in a square. But in this case, yeah, they're an arbitrary aspect ratio, but they're all the same aspect ratio. So to me, that's just kind of lazy to put them in a square. This in Mojave Paint, they are where did this layer come from? Oh yeah. They are actually just the same as the aspect ratio of the document, and so they'll be taller or skinny. So if you let's resize this image to make it actually here, let's resize the canvas to make it to make it kind of wide and short. So we make it like this, and then you can see the thumbnails, and they're capped to be no more than twice as wide as the height of the layer itself, the height of the layer of the UI. And so, yeah, that's one kind of minor advantage, I think, to Mojave Paint. 9 is some of the tools, like the levels and curves, have a histogram in them. And so let's go ahead and bring up in Affinity Photo, it's probably, so I'm going to bring up the curves. And this has a histogram. If you select part of the document, those curves adjustments only apply to the, actually that's weird. They should only apply to what you have selected. Maybe you need to select it first. Hold on. Let me undo this. Okay, so if you select, then you do Command M for curves. You go like that. Okay, so yeah, that's actually, I guess, a bug in Affinity. But as you're dragging this around, it doesn't update anything. Like you don't, the histogram doesn't update, and the area it's applied to doesn't update either. And so let's compare this to Mojave Paint. If you say you make a selection here around this truck, and then you open up curves, it affects that area. But then as you drag the selection around, it moves where it applies to, and it updates the histogram. So the histogram samples out of the selected area. So it's giving you a real histogram of the area that the adjustment will apply to. This is actually not trivial. I mean, I would say it's, of all these 10 items, this is maybe the least trivial of them. And yeah, so that's number 9. Okay, here's number 10 of things that Mojave Paint does better than Affinity Photo. I have the zoom tool activated here, and I think it's always in scrubby zoom mode with this one. And so if you zoom in and out, I don't know how you can see this on the video, but there's tearing and seams that are kind of jumping, and it looks like it's just everything's shifting around in a non-proportional way as I zoom. It looks like it's, I don't know, it's hard to tell what it's doing, but it looks like different regions are zooming independently of each other as I go pixel by pixel in the zoom here. And so it's definitely not smooth. And then another issue, I don't know if you can see on the left edge of the image, it becomes white at certain zoom levels. When you zoom this way, there's going to be fractional pixels at the edge, of course. And Affinity doesn't seem to handle that very well. So let me compare and contrast this to Mojave Paint over here. Here's the same image, and we'll bring up the zoom tool and turn on scrubby zoom here. And here, so you zoom in and out like this. And here, as I go kind of pixel by pixel, it's not doing any of that. It's like completely smooth and normal looking. And also the edges are cleaner. We paid special attention to basically rounding off the pixels so that they don't give you like half white like that. And this is a zoomed out view, so it's not going to be pixel perfect anyway. The only way to get pixel perfect is to go 100% zoom, then you can actually see the pixels for real. But nevertheless, it should be a little less distractingly annoying as you zoom in and out. And I would say that Mojave Paint does a better job here. Okay, so this was 10 things that Mojave Paint does better than Affinity Photo in my humble opinion. This is my first video being recorded for Mojave Paint. Mojave Paint is currently version 0.9, and recording this video on April 8th, 2026. And hopefully getting it in the Mac App Store by the end of April. We'll see how it goes. But yes, I just wanted to conclude by saying that, well, for one thing, most of these issues I pointed out about Affinity Photo are not issues in, say, Acorn. And so I have high regard for Acorn as an image editor. However, Mojave Paint has a slightly different vision for what it's going to be in the end than something like Acorn does. And so, yeah, I hope you check it out. And it has a small feature set so far, but it's going to grow quickly. And the whole goal is to be obsessed with the details and to make something that you love and that you can tell is loved by the developers. And so, yeah, thanks for watching.